Hello everyone, welcome to part 4 of my Dalton series, Dalton Tools and Technology. This is the core left from the smaller blocky chunk. I think it's part 2 of the video series, because I didn't really like the first one. I didn't like the results. Literally, I went through the pile of flakes, and to me, and I don't know anything, but I couldn't find very many, just 2 or 3 flakes that I could make into tools, in my opinion. But the other one, this one, there's a bunch of potential tools in that, and I think I took a picture and shared it. I don't remember. Anyway, I'm gonna try to make 7 tools. I might make more. We'll see how things go. I'm gonna make several styles, or at least talk about different styles of scrapers and their uses. Let's see. Chisels. I'm so infatuated with chisels, and I've done a lot of thinking about it recently, and I've got some ideas. So I'm gonna attempt to make chisels. They would be used for fine shaping and detail work during the Dalton era, but we'll talk more about those during the Clovis series. Gouges. I'm gonna explore different forms, and try to attempt a couple at least. Drills. I've thought about this a lot too. I want to learn to make holes a traditional way. Let's see. A lot of people think that Dalton drills, it's called a Dalton drill, were used for drilling holes, but that's not true. They're just resharpened Daltons that have been used up. And I talked with a guy. He's really into making stone celts and axes and pipes and things like that, and I wanted him to make me a pipe, but I didn't like the hole. And he said, well, Goose, that's what I went by back then, that hole is tapered, and they didn't drill them straight like a drill bit that we're aware of today. And that gave me an idea for how to make a drill, and I'll talk about that when we get there. Also, I'm going to give you at least a peekaboo show, hopefully give you more in the next video, part 5, but I'm going to show you how I think lots of Daltons were made. And I'm going to make a Dalton from a small spall that I took from one of these rocks the other day. And in the next video, I'm going to try to make several Dalton spalls and attempt it again and talk about it more then. I hate pressure flaking. I quit flint knapping probably for that main reason, the number one reason anyway, but I just didn't feel like this. Me trying to talk about Dalton Tools and Technology and just talking about it, not really giving a better picture or full picture, just wasn't adequate for me. So I cut a limb down. There's not many trees in the desert, but this is a short, there's the tip of it on the tip of my finger, so there's the length of that. So it's a short pressure flaking stick. I don't like to call them ishy sticks, because not everybody that used these back then knew who ishy was. So this is just a pressure flaking stick, and you can make it however short as long as you want. I don't think you need to make it any longer than wherever you get leverage. Back here where that point of leverage digs in, it doesn't need to be longer than that. But anyhow, I did have one antler tine left. It's pretty dull. I'm just going to use it just like it is. And I'm going to get started right now. This is one of the tool flakes that came from that. I had an idea about this as soon as I got it. And the person who sent me pictures of what I'm going to make out of this, he had real ones, 2 real ones. He knows what it's going to be now after me talking about it. But he didn't know before this. So I'm going to replicate that. It's it would have probably been really a wide blade like this, but longer. And then as it's refined, almost bifacial like up in here, but up here it's beveled, real fine edged. I guess I'll go through them real quick, what I'm going to try to do. So some kind of end scraper, maybe a side scraper, but probably an end scraper. It's perfect, like it's got that squareness. To me, it reminds me, I've seen so many of these. People have given me Ziploc bags full of these to study. And they probably came from all eras. I mean, they were used literally all around the globe. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to try to make I think a chisel out of that. I'm going to make a gouge out of that. Either, I'm going to try to make 2, like a V-notch or a corner gouge. And I want to try to make one that's more rounded. I don't know which one of these yet, but this one also. This one's a little funky wonky up here, but it's got potential. This also could be potentially the next item I'm going to talk about, which is drill. I want to attempt a drill. So let me talk about drills real quick. Nope, I'm going to wait till I get there. And this is what I'm saving for last. It's what I want to do in the next video. I wish this was longer. I love the width, but I wish it was longer. At least like 3.5 inches long. 3 inches long would be fine. But I've made several of those spalls. I wish I would have filmed that stuff back whenever I was messing around with that. And they come out like this. They're long and they're straight, and there's no refinement for the platform, and I make a Dalton out of it. I'll show you how I do it. Alright, now we're going to get started on this. So the ones I seen were 2 of them looked like the bulb was taken out. So I'm going to take out the bulb. Get rid of this little thing there first, and then I'm just going to work on this end. Yeah, that's good enough. Just to try to refine it a little bit, kind of like a biface. So I'm going to try to remove the bulbs, or the bulb on this one. Alright. Some of that. Now, no matter what, when you're making tools, they're refined. Like, I shouldn't say no matter what. I should say typically. It's pretty nice flaking on them to do the detail work they need to do. So this kind, you know, I can only speculate, right? Just unless we actually watch them using it. I mean, it appears to be evident that it was handheld. The artifacts, the real ones I saw. And those look like they would, you know, the perfect candidate for scraping hides. So I believe a lot of these were refined like I'm doing now, for, you know, one or more reasons. Safety, hafting element. I'm going to talk about that. So sometimes, you know, it might be harder to make, I don't know if it is or not, but it might be when you use a knife and it's done and you need a new knife. Do you go have them make you a new blade and you make a new handle at the same time? I don't know. So it seems like to me that you would keep the knife handle, since it's not, there's nothing wrong with it, and you make a new blade to fit your knife handle. And that's why I believe that the hafting element, especially in some stuff you look at, I don't know, not necessarily Dalton, but other things too that were hafted, like falsums. That's a good one. Is you read about falsums and you find out that, yeah, I forget, it's a large percentage of them fall within this certain width, you know, lattice arc width, something like that, right? So when you, I don't know, when you make, if you're trying to replicate and you make a Dalton or something and it's, or Clovis or something, and it's too wide, it looks funny because they would have never done something like that. I don't think that was a point I was trying to make, but it's a point I did make, I guess. And just because I saw two that were flattened out doesn't mean they all were flattened out on the bottom on the bulb. I'm not sure if it matters ergonomically when you grab it, if you're grabbing it with your hand and using it, or if it's hafted. If it's hafted, then it might make more sense for it to be flat. But there again, I had this belief that efficiency was key, and that since every flake came off nearly the same, then the hafting element would try to match the fit without doing much to it. All right. Alright. Okay, so something that looks kind of bifacial on the end, and that was pretty slow. Let's see if I wonder if I can, let's see. No, I'm not gonna do that. Just gonna pressure flake it now. Okay, I tried to get close up, a lot closer than my last views, because I'm pressure flaking now. I want you to be able to see it, and hopefully you do. So let's see. I'm not gonna teach pressure flaking on this video. I'm teaching how to make Dalton tools, so I'm not gonna talk too much about that, about antler pressure. But let's see. So I'm gonna make this the holding end, and this the business end, the cutting end, the bit end. I do want to say one thing I notice that's similar is, like, a lot of tools are the same size, not size, but shape and form, but size is different, scale is different. Adzes, for one, is the same as like a scraper, some of them. So I'm gonna show, but some small scrapers that look like scrapers aren't scrapers because the bevel is too shallow. Typically on scrapers you want that bevel to be steep. You don't want shallow bevel that can, with one little sideways movement, will cut a hole in the hide. But you do want something shallow when you're using like a gouge, a small narrow gouge. You want to make small little slits or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna pressure flake this cortex off. I wonder how many years it's been since I pressure flaked. Guessing it's been a long time. It sucks. I hate it. Only because it hurts me. I love the result. I love what you can do with it. People don't understand it. I've had people tell me, the reason you hurt is because you're using antler as a pressure flaker. But I know for a fact, since I used to use copper, that for most copper platforms, you're going to be pushing a lot harder than you do with antler. If you're doing your antler right anyway. I got rid of the cortex, and I just kind of followed the bevel all the way around, or all the way from one end to the other, and then I'm just kind of round it out a little bit and trim up the sides. I won't make them as fine, so I'm just gonna kind of rough it out. These, you know, once you have this side right, where you're, it's usually not touched anymore after that. All the flakes are taken from there to this side on a lot of tools that you make, scrapers for sure. Kind of round this off a little over here, fix it a little, and from what I can tell by looking at the old ones, for these bigger ones, is like they didn't use the sides for anything. All the fine edge work and detail is right on the bit, right on the end, I should say. Just gonna round it out. The ones I saw were pretty round, not straight like this. I'm rotating this antler as I use it for this rougher stuff. That way it'll sharpen it for me. And I don't have to go to a sandstone or something to sharpen it. Okay. I'm going to change my angle and not go so steep now, or so shallow. Continuing around. I'm over striking, I guess, on purpose. Take off a lot of that edge. Okay, now you don't, when you're scraping hides, I used to do a bunch of these actually. I've done some with flint, but it was mostly steel. But you don't want those tiny little sharp points sticking out. See, but you do still want a sharp edge, so you're not trying to dull your edge. And you wrap it around the corner just a little bit because the hide will flex and you don't want it. I mean, yeah, so this part will be just as good, refined as much as the end will. Do your corners good too. Okay. Oh, maybe I forgot this side over here. I'm using my arms too much to try to give you a point of view. I shouldn't be, but alright, there it is. So it's got a little bit of a cup right there, right at the very end where it kind of goes, your flake, the curvature continues, right? And that's what you want when you're working with, you don't need it necessarily, but it helps you with the angle when you're working anything, wood, hide, or whatever. Okay, so let's see, and left that end pretty much alone, right where the flake came from. All right, on to the next tool, which won't take as long. Another end scraper. So you build these to the body, you build it to the ridge. That's where the strength is at. And you know, maybe in this case, because it's kind of thinner right in here, maybe they halved all the way up to there. I thought about taking some of this off with like a hammerstone, but decided against it. So anyway, we're going to continue. minimal touch up. This is, you're being efficient when you create the tool flake, and you're being efficient when you make the actual tool itself. So your tool flake is made so efficient with such a plan that you're going to follow every single time on every flake. When you make a Dalton, I'll show you how that works out. Make this one more into a little bit of an in/side scraper. You always have to keep in mind the angle depending on what kind of tool you're wanting to, or what you're wanting to use the tool for. I mean, so if you make it, like I said, if you make it too shallow, it might look funny as a replica, and vice versa. If you make the angle too steep on an adze, it won't do anything but bounce off the wood. It won't cut, because the bevel in the back won't clear. It actually hits the bevel. The bevel hits the wood before the sharp edge does. And here I'm just going to scrunch a little. No real refinement. And you know, I'm struggling with this right now this whole time while I'm making this, thinking, do I go all the way up this? Can I just leave it alone? Does it need to be messed with? I don't know. If it's Clovis, I don't know. I shouldn't even say that right now. I think it's different for different things. That's what I believe. And I don't know. And you can see, I've seen a lot of them like this where it's refined. See how detailed and refined that is compared to that right there. It's what I love. One thing I love about this stuff is these little flakes. Like, they're not a lot different than a lot of really fine edge work you do on points, whether it be Daltons or Hardens or Falsums or whatever, because it just has to be right. You're not going to do the job you need done, one, and two, it's going to do a bad job doing it. Like if you have a bunch of burrs in this and you scrape a hide with it, then it's just going to make string out of your rawhide right away, whether you want it or not. So I want to refine. Wanted to make this a little more round right here. So these are fine, delicate flakes. Does it have a pretty shape to most modern people? No. But to me it does. I love looking at tools. Some of the kale in tools is, I love. Okay, I'm done with this. I'm not going to do anything with this end. Because I wish I still had those because I don't remember everything about them. But a lot of them, this is left alone. And this is where I got the idea from, of leaving this stuff alone for something I'm going to talk about later. But anyway, that's done. It's got a real nice rounded edge right there. It's sharp. I can feel it on my finger. It goes around and stops about there. This is left completely alone. And this is just roughed up down here. Like I think it would be just designed for handheld, right-handed person to do some work like that right there. You can do some heck of good scraping, get some good leverage. Wrap it in a piece of leather so you don't cut yourself if it slips. Okay. On to the next tool. Which is chisel. I'm going to try to make a chisel out of this. I've never done this ever before in my life. So I just think of like a woodworking chisel that I'm familiar with. And you're going to strike it with wood, not rock. So you got to do something up here to make it so when you strike it, it doesn't flake off stuff. So narrow and stout. Yeah, there's one. No. Let's see. I think I'll do this first. Chisel. So this has got to be. I want a real shallow angle. Real shallow angle, and you can actually cut straight into stuff and cut square holes and notches, and just like you do with wood, if you're familiar with any of that or think of it at least, because that's what they did. Same thing, just with stone. This has already got a bevel I could take care of, and it's not quite Cortex, it's just old patina. It doesn't mean that there's not a fracture in there though, which could be bad and ruin the idea for this, I guess. Trying to run them up there as far as I can. And so I got rid of, you can see, I got rid of this thick stuff here to kind of match what was over there. It's not straight though. That's better. As long as this bevel right here stays the same all the way across, that's what then you could go all the way down. You could maximize the use of that bevel when you're cutting, so you could cut steep like this straight in, or you can go all the way down to the bevel. So the shallower that is, the thinner of a cut you can take. Think of like a, not a spoke shave, but a draw knife. Be cool to make. They did make draw knives. I have one on I have a video of a draw knife I made. It's on YouTube. It's on my channel. It's the Venezuela replica thing. That thing just freaking shredded some moose antler. That's a very poor quality video, but you can see the flakes flying. And I'll straighten out that chisel when I'm done and make sure it's square with the rest of it. Okay, go down the sides. I'll start over here. Thinking about how I want this up here while I'm doing this. I'm gonna follow that triangle shape. So I need that triangle shape for strength. The was that like that? Did I create that? I've done that a bunch of times. It ain't no fun. Alright, let me try to get going, get in a rhythm. This is just like percussion in that I can see underneath when I'm taking this flake. So I just barely take a peek under here. I'm trying to give you the best view I can. Barely take a peek under here and then adjust my angle accordingly to get the flake, and then I push with the intent to get that flake I want. Same with percussion, no matter what. Should have pushed them with my legs. Not in the center of the camera, and that's really part of what bothered me. But some of this stuff I really got to go for, so I apologize for all of it that's out of frame that you'd like to see better. Oh, good. I went over that ridge, and it's gonna help with straightening this out over here and creep up, and then take the flake similar right here to clean up the rest of it on the end. But I ain't gonna do it yet. I need another one to get that hump off. I gotta really, I don't know. Didn't get it. I hinged it. If you saw, I didn't push with my legs hardly at all. So I'm just gonna keep going. I don't know if there's any chisels in the archaeological record. I would sure think they need to use them. Flakes come off easy when you do everything right. Okay. I'm kind of liking that. I'm going to narrow up the bit end. I just kind of want to straighten it up a little. Your bit end can't be smaller than the rest of it though, because you won't be able to cut. You won't leave any room. It can't be like that. I'm looking at my line. Okay, now we straighten up this edge. Let's see, clean the camera lens. I'm braiding my edge when I do that. I'm thickening it. I'm looking at my line, see what flake I need to take. Okay. And I still want to maintain contours as well. Okay. All right, nice. There's that second flake right there. Come up to help blend in the bevel better. Now I'm just going to go straight across and straight up that. And then I'll make the bit square, or whatever, the striking end square with the bit. And square with the rest of this. I'm going to make the bit, or yeah, the bit square with the sides right now. Get straight across. So this looks like the lowest corner. I'm going to go to that. Don't take out your corner. Looking underneath, trying to take really, pushing real in to get those, to try to maintain that shallow bevel. I hinged it just a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't affect its performance. And what I was going to say is about, not sure if they're in the archaeological record or not, is were they ground? I don't know. Were they just used like I'm going to make it? Because I think you can. Okay. Gonna almost, oops, took the corner a little, no problem. Come over the other way, this way for now. Do the rest of the fine work here. Finish that up. Taking flakes where I need to kind of even things out, but I'm also just scrunching to make it dull there, because I'd be done with it. Okay. Same thing over here. I just left that alone near the bit where I took off the edge, because I knew I was going to come back and straighten this edge up anyway, and it would just blend right in as if there was nothing wrong at all. Okay, now, I don't know. I had ideas for this. Take a flake without wrapping the flake. And yeah, sometimes I say that's, I mean, good luck. Did it wrap? Yes. It's so hard. You need to keep it off the leather when you do it. That will help. And I had it right on the leather. Okay. There, that was better. When you hit this, you don't want any corners that can create a flake. So they need to be rounded off and somewhat dull and uniform. Take a flake into it. wonder if I could just scrunch it. If I could just scrunch it in. Let me put this up. There. That is working nicely. I took flakes one way to kind of square off and flatten the edge. Now I'm taking flakes into to round. Get rid of the corners, scrunch them off. You don't want to hit them. Even if it's ground, it can come off. So you just got to remove them. You just kind of want, just like a chisel is, it's really isolated place to hit on top, and it's really concentrated and focused in the center. So I may not get these exactly how I want, this or any of them, but it's for demonstration, and I hope that it makes sense to you and that you understand it. And I hope that this applies to the record. Rather difficult to hold. I almost, yeah, you know, just grind it out. You flake it as close as you can, and then you grind it out. Crap. This video is getting long. Didn't realize. Alright. We're just going to stop there for demonstration. So, chisel, this would be something that if you're careful, and there might need to be a little bit more preparation on this first. I'm not quite sure, but like a backwards grind maybe, but I don't think so. I think it's fine just the way it is. So if you drive it in and you go this way, you're going to break it. But if you drive it in, you don't bend it at all. You just let the bevel do the work, because it keeps pushing you out, or pushing you deeper depending on what you're doing. So anyway, let's just show it. Do the roundy round. There's the close-up of the edge, bevel, striking in where you're going to hit it with like a wood mallet, not antler. Nice ridge. This is the widest part. It can be the same width, but it can't be narrower here than here. Kind of looks like a small adze of some kind, huh? Right? Yep. You can make this gigantic too and use it as an adze. Make this angle a little bit steeper. That'll work. That angle would work fine. All right, next. Talking too much. Let's see. I'm gonna go faster to save time. So this one I want to make a gouge. I'll make like a rounded kind of gouge. I don't know if you can actually do this or not. Oops. But I am gonna try. So here we go. That probably needs to be sharper. Oh God, I need time, don't I? That's cutting out of the way. Better than sanding. Okay. Hope that's narrow enough. We're going to try to show you anyway demonstrate. So now we're taking flakes the opposite way, because we don't want a straight gouge, we want a rounded gouge, and we're only taking flakes in the middle, not on the corners, and not pushing corners off like I just did. If you have a finer tip, you can refine your gouge. I need to do some edges on the end anyway. I'm trying to go faster, so I'm not going to make the whole tool. Just going to talk about this one's different. It's still a gouge, like a chisel. It's the same, just a different kind of end. And I'm just going to focus on that part. Let's say from there up. Okay. It's sand. I do need to sharpen this. Apologize. Well, I'm just gonna do it anyway. I can take some fine flakes of that. If you're gonna make it round, you gotta push a little bit of that ridge off and round your edge. You gotta make it super fine. And then take flakes from this way and push in. That worked nicely, except I pushed my corner off. God dang it. Okay. Gonna make that work. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Guess the corner got pushed off the right way. Okay, almost there. Just trying to make the business end look good. Yeah, okay. And you refine this way. All right. So I like it. Now, just pretend that we're only, we're only focusing on this part, not the lower part. But okay. See how I took that ridge and I pushed flake off, and that made it rounded. And then I took flakes off from this direction going that way. Normally, for the other tools and stuff, like chisels, adzes, you take flakes the other way. So this is a gouge. You square up your end and make it, like I was talking about with a chisel, so you can hit it with wood. And you can carve out more rounder pieces. It's a rounded gouge. Can make, if you leave that ridge on, you can make like a V gouge. You take, same way, you would take flakes right up into the corner with a real fine pressure flaker, not this fat one, and you could do a much better job. All right, on to the next one. Running out of time. I was gonna make a little V, like a V notch or corner notch gouge, whatever they're called, out of this one. But for the sake of time, it's an hour already into it. I want to make 2 more tools. I want to make a drill and Dalton. So it sucks that I have to talk about this right now and we're long into the video, but like the strongest shape for a drill is the current kind of drill bit that you're used to seeing right now when you go to your toolbox. It's round. But I can't really think of how they made round drill bits, but so I don't know. I was thinking about geometric shapes. Well, the strongest geometric shape besides a circle is a triangle. A circle doesn't have any joints. A triangle has 3 joints and 3 legs. A square has 4 joints, 4 legs, so on. In order for a triangle to fail, one of the legs has to break. In order for the joints to give way and bend, one of the legs has to break. But on any other shape, square, 5-sided, 6-sided, etc., the joints can fail before the legs fail. And that's why I think triangle shape was used for drill bits. I don't know this for sure. It's not claiming that I do know it for sure. I just think that they did based off what I just said. So for the sake of time, I ain't gonna make this one exactly how I want on camera. I'm gonna worry about the business part of it mostly. Up here, you would want to create a hafting element to put it in a stick where it would be straight, so that however long you want your stick, depending on the drill, but maybe a foot long in this case, and you just rub it between your hands like this, applying down pressure, and you drill. I'm not sure. I thought about this. I'm not sure if the sides of the triangle drill would be flat, or would they be not, I guess, concave. And they were tapered because the drills, I mean, I shouldn't say that, I don't know what I'm talking about. They were tapered for like pipes, pipe holes for pipes, tapered. So ideally, for this to be strong and you make a circle hole, all legs need to have the same length. Leg, I mean the width from this across the face, across that face, across that face. So you can see that one's narrow and this one's really wide, so this one's got to come way in. It's hard to hold on to this thing. It wouldn't surprise me if they, for some things, if they had some kind of way of holding it, a jig or something. Reminds me of making Edens. They suck. I love them. I love making them. I love the results. It just sucks making them. I've seen some triangle points out there, and I don't think they were, I don't know, maybe there is something that they were making them, they were basing them off the archaeological record, but yeah, I don't know. Never mind. Let me focus on this. Oh gosh. Just so hard to hang on. And gotta go across here. This is gonna really get hard to hold now. Definitely reminds me of working on Edens. See if I can get that wedged in there a little bit for me. I can't hang on to it. Okay, trying to see how this edge is lower right there. I'm trying to raise that up, and that will help with making my triangle. Gosh, maybe I'll hold it up here. I don't know what the heck I need. I need a sharper. Okay. That seemed like that had a lot of bending force. This is so hard for me to do. Anyway, I guess I was going to say, I think a lot of the triangle projectile points were made like this. Where you take a flake and you have to have that three-sided flake. The ridge. This is hard to hang on to. Not sure if I'm going to be able to finish this like I want. Wow. See, right now I have 2 cutting edges. Well, the legs aren't equal. So now I have to try to create a 3rd cutting edge. If that's not sharp already, and you can't ever expect your ridge to be sharp. Which is telling me a lot right now about these. Okay, I don't think I can do it. Trying to take a flake off that ridge. Thought I might be able to get one started here, and then I could zigzag with this dull thing, but anyway, I'm not sure. Let me just talk about it and just be done. So one is, will this work tapered? Like, this is rounded right here, and I think it should be flat. And I believe that you should have taken flakes from this ridge. I didn't think about that early enough to try to establish that in a hurry here. And I didn't do anything with this end, but I would continue this all the way up and have something that's really uniform, something you could put on the end of the stick and twirl it just like an arrowhead. You don't want it to wobble. You want it to spin straight. That way you know you're drilling and straight into your hole. Alright, pause it for a second. Well, I went to sharpen this on a rock, and I was afraid I was gonna catch the rawhide, and I did, and it took it in 2, so hopefully this works. Alright, Daltons, this is just a prelude to the next video, hopefully. Okay, so we're just going to pretend this is longer, but we're going to pretend we're not going to mess with that either. We're just going to pretend that we're only working on the base. And I'm only going to work from the margins. I'm going to save the base for last. I'm not going to do anything from the base. So Daltons, base to tip, base to tip, base to tip, base to tip. Okay, let's just start right here. So I'm just going to take flakes. Oops, not like, you have to do it the Dalton way, so you need to take a little back flake and remember I talked about hafting elements. The process I'm describing, base to tip, all 4 sides. You can do it in as many series as you need to. You can do it in as many odd series as you need to to create the hafting width that you're looking for. You can't just do 4 sides and the width be too wide and you call it good. You gotta have the right size tool for what you need it for. So flip it over, we'll baste a tip. This much of this doesn't really matter in the beginning so much. There. You just keep repeating it until you get it right. Okay. Let's see. Alright, now there. And I said I'm weak with this. Oops. And I am. I can't push this stuff off. Remember, some Daltons were real fine and some were crude and some are, it's like real thin in certain places and a little thicker in others because they didn't get their flakes right. I can't hold these very well, so don't expect a good flaking pattern because I can't. You don't make it though. And many of them are hinged too, remember, like a lot of Daltons, they ain't that necessarily pretty. So we did the 4 series, but we're not done. Say it's too wide and we need to go narrower, so we just keep going, right? And you yeah, I don't know what to say. Just keep going. I'll go baste a tip right here. Well, the stick ain't coming apart, but my rawhide is coming undone. I'll have to fix that. Alright, so same. Oh, but I do believe they are made just like this, where you have a good feel of what's going on underneath, and you get a little peek, and you don't. I'm not gonna look at it every time. I mean, let's see. Is it? Yeah. I mean, that's the camera, but that's a Dalton pattern. Okay, right there. On this side. On this side, it's an ugly pattern. Okay, it's an ugly Dalton pattern, but it's still Dalton pattern, even though it's ugly, because we did it Dalton process. So let's just say go one more time, tip to base. On the other times, we'll make it 6 times, 6 sets. You can make it 5. You can make it 7. Has to have a minimum of 4. Okay, baste a tip. I'm going to skip some flakes a little bit, just take some small ones because of the way the underneath looks like. And let me tell you too, when you get that back flake right, and then you set your antler pressure flaker on that just right and push and get the right flake, or put, I mean, it comes off easy, and the flakes are incredible. They're just, I love them. So But yeah, I think a lot of these were made without hardly much looking going on underneath. Okay, now let's say we've satisfied our width. That matches our hafting element for the knife or whatever that you already have, the handle that you already have, I mean. And now we finish by fluting up the base with pressure, fluting, pressure flaking, whatever you want to call it. The initiation, there's the initiation point, there's where I struck the core, right, to take off this Dalton spall, is the last thing I remove. I leave it alone until this stage, and now I work it here. Another reason I believe this, I said one earlier, but another reason I believe it is because I've seen corners of Daltons that have this shape like it was a striking surface. They take one core, and if you do it right, you can hit it one time and get the concave angles that you need for striking, and so it can appear flat. But I've seen the corners where those are left on there, and that's what makes me think they were made this way. And that's the way I'm going to make it right now. Same thing, these are like potato chip flakes. You're taking a little bit off at a time until you get there. Thickening my edge. I think I'm going to leave that one alone for a while. I'm looking underneath. Ooh. Reason it's it's just hard to hold. I'm making a lot of hurting noise because it's just so hard to hold. Okay, so there's the first pass. Okay, and then we're above center line here now, and I like the way the beginning of that's looking, so I'm gonna flip it over and do the other side. I'm just gonna even out the deltas a little bit. Underneath, baby. You don't want your corners thin, so you just kind of leave them alone, and they end up a little thick and knobby. Okay, cleaned it up, and now I'm going to take, especially since I can't hold it, I push on this little bitty thing and it just wobbles, so any kind of really good long flakes are just, I have to give up on that expectation. Felt my stick give way a little bit. Come on, hold up just a little longer. Choke up on it. Yeah. And I believe some of these were shallow, some of them were deep, based off of one of two things, if not both. the hafting element has to be right, or you can't haft it. So you keep going until you get that. Or there's some kind of knobby thing in the bottom of your hafting element that that this fits into, and it's supposed to have a certain profile because of that. It's possible. Man, oh man. Okay, so now I like it. I don't care if it's got a hinge right there or not. Take a good look. Okay, you can also still see the striking surface left on the corners. The corners are left thick and knobby. It's thin in the base. You could do more in there, and I probably should. Well, maybe I will take at least one right here. It's so I'm trying to claim to get it right, and sometimes whenever other parts aren't, I don't know why I care now all of a sudden. Okay, and so there's your pattern from the sides. Everything looks good. I'm missing one thing I haven't done yet. Okay, you got scrunch in the base. So how did they do that? Did they scrunch it in like this? I can't remember how you're supposed to. Let's see, when you resharpen them, I guess they go this way, don't they? I don't remember. So if I did this wrong, just say so. It doesn't bother me none. But I'm not going to use the antler. I'm going to use the scruncher. Just scrunch it in, and that grinds it in at the same time. And not every one of these were perfect. See, there's one side. I'll do this side. It grinds it at the same time. And I just don't know if on some of these real small micro flakes, can you really tell that it was an antler or hammerstone? Or stone, I should say. You gotta grind those ears. And that hafting element. Let's say I think it's just done by scrunching it in. Alright, there's my finished Dalton base. This side got a rough grind for the hafting element. This side looks really good. Like it's solid, and you know, it's even and no sharp spots. And that's how I think they make Daltons, my friends. Thanks for watching.